Did you know that 1 in 4 probiotic users with IBS will experience probiotic side effects? Whether you have IBS or not, you don't have to struggle with side effects. If you've ever felt worse after starting probiotics, you're certainly not alone. There are simple ways you can avoid the most common side effects and actually feel better faster. In this video, you'll discover what actually causes probiotic side effects, what are some common side effects and when you should be concerned, how to start slowly and minimize gut discomfort, how toxin binders can ease probiotic side effects, foods you'll want to avoid that can irritate your gut, and one big reason probiotics can backfire and how you can fix it. When I first started taking spore probiotics, they're so powerful, I definitely got gut symptoms. I'll share with you in tip number 4 what I wish I knew back then. While I am a microbiologist and somebody who's dealt with a lot of antibiotic-resistant infections, I'm not a doctor. This video is for educational purposes only. If you do need medical advice, be sure to talk with your doctor. Understanding what's really going on inside of your gut is key to understanding and preventing probiotic side effects. So, what actually causes probiotic side effects? While side effects are usually mild and short-lived and usually will go away on their own, there are 3 main culprits you'll want to know about. The first is die-off reactions. When probiotics start crowding out harmful bacteria and yeast, they don't go away quietly. When those bacteria and yeast die, they break apart and they release toxins, including lipopolysaccharides, or LPS. And these toxins can trigger bloating, gas, loose stools, headaches, skin flare-ups, fatigue, and even flu-like symptoms. Another side effect can be histamine reactions. Now, histamines are chemicals your body normally makes, and they're often associated with seasonal allergies. But there are certain probiotic strains and even fermented foods that can trigger a histamine response. If your body has trouble breaking histamine down, you might feel flushed, itchy, anxious, or bloated. If you react to fermented foods, you likely have a histamine sensitivity. And lastly, your gut may not be ready for probiotics. Sometimes the gut lining can be too damaged, inflamed, or out of balance to welcome new microbes, even if they're good, healthy microbes. Introducing a probiotic too early or taking too much too quickly can feel like throwing fuel onto a fire. So here's the key takeaway. The more you understand what's behind your symptoms, the more you can work with your body instead of fighting against it. And that brings us to point number 2, how to spot the most common side effects and if what you're feeling is normal, or if it's a red flag you should not ignore. First, it's important to understand that most people do just fine with probiotics, and they are a big game changer when it comes to gut health. Side effects, when they do happen, are often mild and short-lived. People have been eating probiotic living foods for thousands of years, including kombucha and sauerkraut, yogurt, and kefir. And in modern times, natural and holistic health practitioners have been using probiotics successfully for decades. So while it's good to be informed about possible probiotic side effects, there's no need to be overly worried, especially when you know what to expect and how you can ease the transition. So let's break it down into 3 kinds of side effects. First are common and temporary side effects. These are by far the most common, and they'll usually show up in the first few days or weeks, and they tend to fade as your gut adjusts. You might experience mild bloating or gas. You may hear gurgling or rumbling coming from your stomach. You might have slightly looser or more frequent stools. You might also feel a bit tired or sluggish. These are often signs that your probiotic is working and your gut flora is shifting and adjusting. These symptoms are normal and they usually pass on their own within a few days. Second are moderate reactions. Now, these may indicate the probiotic is either too strong or you're taking too much too quickly. It could also mean this is the wrong strain for you or your gut isn't ready for probiotics yet. You may experience headaches or brain fog, skin rashes or itching. You might also experience anxiety and mood swings, as probiotics can definitely affect that. Nausea, cramping, and fatigue are also moderate reactions. Now, these can all be part of a die-off reaction of bad bugs in your GI system. They could also be a histamine sensitivity. They're probably not dangerous, but it's best to pause or reduce your dose. Also, taking a toxin binder can help you too, and I'll talk about that in tip number 4. And lastly, you might just need to calm down your gut a little bit first before continuing at a slower pace. And lastly are rare symptoms, and these could point to a deeper issue or a real incompatibility with the probiotic. And these symptoms can include severe abdominal pain, high fever or chills, bloody stools, heart palpitations, breathing issues, or swelling. And it's important to note that if you experience anything like these side effects, stop the probiotic immediately and contact your healthcare provider. While these symptoms are very rare, people with weakened immune systems or complex medical conditions should be aware of these symptoms. So how can you minimize gut discomfort when starting a probiotic? I would say one of the most important things you could do is to start that probiotic slowly. And this is especially true if you're dealing with any kind of gut challenge like IBS or C. diff, H. pylori, or leaky gut. Starting slow and having a gentle start can make all the difference. I guess I like to think of the gut like a flower garden. If your flower garden's been trampled down, it's all dried out, and it's full of weeds, you can't just throw a bunch of flower seeds on it and expect it to look like a flower garden the next day. You first need to prepare the soil, add some fertilizer and water, and let things settle in gradually. So here's how you can start slowly and give your gut a fighting chance. Start with a low dose of the probiotic, even if the label says take 1 per day. You might want to start with a half capsule or start with 1 capsule every other day, depending on how sensitive you are. If you are especially sensitive to probiotics or you've had bad reactions before, I would not take more than 1 new probiotic at a time. Just start with 1. See how you do with it. If you're good, then you can add in the next probiotic. And then to add to that, just titrate up slowly how much you're taking. So if you've been fine on a particular probiotic for a few days, then gradually increase your dose to more. For some people who are especially sensitive or they have very chronic or severe gut challenges, it might take you a few weeks to get up to the full dose of the probiotic. Another way you can reduce your side effects is by using a toxin binder. So when probiotics start pushing out bad bacteria, when those bad bacteria die, they release toxins into your gut. Toxin binders work like sponges in the gut, and they go up and they grab those toxins so they can't either be released into your bloodstream, so they can't be irritating to your colon, and they help escort those toxins out through your body through your regular elimination process. Now here's a list of a few gentle binders that people will often use during probiotic therapy. If you're interested in any of these, I'll put links in the description below. Now the first is activated charcoal. This will absorb a broad range of toxins, and you'll want to make sure you get a really clean source of charcoal. Bentonite clays, those also will bind gut irritants, and they will help with regularity as well. A product I also like is called GI Detox, and it's a combination of charcoal, clay, and other binders. And lastly are immunoglobulin binders like immunoglobulin G or IgG supplements. These actually focus just on microbial toxins, and they work inside the gut in a more targeted way than charcoals and clays. But don't worry, you don't need to take toxin binders forever. They're very helpful when you're first starting up a probiotic, and they can make a world of difference when it comes to probiotic side effects. And I guess I would say I wish I would have known about toxin binders when I first started Spore Probiotics. I think with all of my antibiotic use and exposure to mold, I really had a leaky gut. And so when I started these powerful probiotics, I was really feeling the symptoms. And even though I was starting with a small amount, it took me a long time to work up to the main dose just because of all those toxins going through my inflamed gut into my bloodstream. So toxin binders are pretty amazing. I know if I would have had them starting out, it would have made the transition a lot easier. So even if you're taking the best probiotic in the world for you, if you're eating foods every day that are irritating your gut, you're going to struggle with that probiotic. Here's a list of some common gut irritants you might want to avoid when you're starting probiotics. First are highly processed foods. Now, these might taste great, but unfortunately they're full of additives, chemicals, preservatives, inflammatory seed oils, and refined carbohydrates like sugars or high fructose corn syrup. Those sugars will tend to feed the bad bacteria that will irritate your gut lining, and so will those other chemicals and inflammatory ingredients. Another food is alcohol, and even small amounts can trigger inflammation and increase that intestinal permeability, that leaky gut, where molecules can leak into your bloodstream. Artificial sweeteners, especially sucralose and aspartame, can actually upset your microbiome and your metabolic health. Another food to be aware of are certain fermented foods, and that can include aged cheeses, kombucha, sauerkraut. These are healthy foods, yes, but they're also high in histamines, and if you're sensitive to histamines, they can cause reactions like headaches, rashes, and gut discomfort if you're sensitive to them. And lastly are gluten and dairy. These are two top offenders for many people who have existing gut inflammation or autoimmune issues. So the bottom line is if your gut is already inflamed, adding probiotic bacteria and irritating foods at the same time can be too much. The key is to reduce those daily triggers so your gut has space to heal. Probiotics are great for most people of all ages, and they can do amazing things for your gut microbiome and your health. But if you fit into one of these people groups, you'll want to take extra care and be sure you talk to your healthcare provider before you start a new probiotic. So be careful with probiotics if you're taking immune-suppressing medications. That can be steroids, chemotherapy, or anti-rejection drugs for organ transplants. If you have a central venous catheter or a port, if you have endocarditis or heart valve issues. Also be careful if you struggle with autoimmune issues or if you have histamine-related conditions. While severe reactions are very rare, if your immune system is compromised, your gut is very fragile, or you have a complex medical history, proceed carefully and talk to your doctor first. But here's an important reason why your probiotics may backfire on you. You might be surprised to know that not every probiotic has a place in the gut microbiome. And unfortunately, 95% of probiotics are unable to make significant shifts in gut health due to weak colonization inside the gut and poor survivability through stomach acid. So in my next video, I'm going to walk you through which probiotic strains are natural residents in the human gut and which ones actually work, especially if you've gone through rounds of antibiotics or if you're dealing with tough gut challenges.